He enables us to be gathered together here today. I thank God for everything. Before I say anything, as you all know, I am a silent kid, so I might make some mistakes while I'm on the stage. So I request you all to please forgive me if I do anything wrong. So I thank God for all His faithfulness that He has showed us over the past 1 year. I thank God for teaching us many things. True, we did have moments when we were quite low, but even then God was always with us, making sure that what He did was always right in His eyes. One thing that we need to ask God today especially is to teach us to number our days, because that's what the psalmist asked God in Psalm chapter 90 verses 12. He asked God, teach us to number our days so that we can gain a heart of wisdom. This verse shows us how important it is to follow Christ, even when the world around us is wicked and evil. And when we follow Christ, even in that wicked time, that is when we are redeeming our time, and that is when we are not wasting our time. So that is one thing that we should ask God today, to teach us to number our days so that we can gain a heart of wisdom, so that we can redeem our time instead of wasting it. So I have some road rules for the new year, and I hope these will be a blessing to you for the next year and for the years to come as well. So the first rule that we need to follow for 2023 is to stop at the red lights. Oftentimes in a Christian life, we have these tendencies to rush through in our life because we assume that we only have green lights, and that is what leads to accidents. When you see a red light, we need to stop, because that is when God teaches us patience. If we don't wait for God to turn the light to green, then we will definitely end up in an accident. And while you're waiting, you need to make sure that you listen to God, because God will always reply to you with the directions. He will instruct you on what you should do in your Christian life. It says in Isaiah chapter 30 verses 21, your ears will hear a word behind you. This is the way, walk in it, whenever you turn to the left or to the right. So that is one thing that we should do when we see a red light, that is to accept that God is there and to listen to Him so that you can know the right path for your Christian life. Another thing that we need to do when we see a red light is to acknowledge that God is present and He will make your paths straight. It says in Proverbs chapter 3 verse 6, in all your ways submit to God and He will make your paths straight. So that is another thing that we should do when we see a red light, which is to acknowledge that God is present and to make sure that we listen to Him so that He can make our paths straight. So that was the first rule, to stop at the red lights. Another rule that we need to follow is to not stop at the green lights. When we drive on the road, we use our full opportunity to get through that green. We want to reach our destination maybe a bit earlier, or maybe we want to reach the destination at the right time. So we make sure that we use our full opportunity. And in your Christian life as well, you need to do the same, because green lights in your Christian life, in our Christian life, represent every opportunity of denying yourself and taking up your cross daily. This means that in every opportunity that we get, we need to put to death everything that our flesh wants, such as, being angry, or being selfish, or, lusting with our eyes, or lying with our eyes. So that is something that we should do, which is to not stop at the green light, making sure that we are fully willing to go through what God wants us to do. And if we stop at the green light, it is like you're making a wave so that you can end up in an accident. So that is another thing that we should do, which is to not stop at the green light. The third rule that we need to follow is to not drive off the road. As we travel along the road in our Christian journey, the devil will make sure that he distracts us so that we can drive off the road. In our Christian life, in our normal life, we see many flowers and trees, and we are not usually distracted by them, but in your Christian life, it can distract you because these opinions are these flowers and trees are the opinions of other people that can easily distract you. And if you listen to them, what we're trying to do is to gain favor. But that is not what God wants us to do. We should have the attitude of Paul over here. He says in Galatians chapter 1 verses 10, am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? If I was still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. So it says clearly that if we are still trying to please people, we won't be a servant of Christ. So make sure that we listen to God so that we don't listen to the opinions of other people and take the wrong direction. So that was the third rule, to not drive off the road. The fourth rule that we need to follow is to stay in our lane. In our Christian life, God has drawn lanes for our protection. And in India, you would see that people don't drive in their lanes, and that is what often leads to accidents. So it's not the same over here. You have to stay in your lane or you're going to end up in an accident. So in your Christian life, it's the same. You have to stay in your lane, because staying in our lane means to not be a busybody in other people's matters. Checking their spirituality with God, checking their relationship with God. That can often lead to accidents. You're not minding your own business, but instead you're making sure that other people are following their rules. So that is something that we should not do, being a busybody in other people's matters or being concerned about the matters that doesn't concern you at all. It says it's actually a command in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verses 11, and to make it your ambition to lead a quiet life and to attend to your own business and work with your hands, just as we command you. So that was the fourth rule, to stay in your lane, and I hope that this will be a blessing to you as well. The fifth rule that we have to follow, the last and the most joyful rule, is to not drive slowly. We don't do that over here. We don't drive, so quick, because we will end up in an accident. But in your Christian life, you have to drive fast, because it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 9 verses 24, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. So we need to run in such a way, we need to drive in such a way so that we can reach that goal, we can get that crown, we can meet God. So that was the last rule, actually, to not drive slowly. And I hope these rules will be a blessing to you as well. The most important rule is to not stop at the green lights. The world will make it difficult for us, but when we listen to God, when we follow God, even when the world makes it difficult for us, that is when we redeem our time, And I hope 2023 will be a blessing to all of us. I hope God will bless you with many spiritual blessings from above. I pray that God gives you the strength to follow all these rules. And I thank you for giving me your time. May God bless you once again. Thank you.